All right, we are live. There we go. All right, I'm hanging out with SHAIN HONKONEN, okay, from Vilifi. He's coming in for an interview today. He's going to go ahead and we're going to go through a few things and see what the Vilifi program is these days on the RocksMetalHour. All right, how you doing, SHAIN?
Not bad. How are you?
No, not too bad. How are the shows going? Are you doing a lot of them?
Really well, man. We've been picking up a lot of momentum from a couple people that have been really generous and helping out and, you know, getting some good press for us. And we've been working with these people called Red Dragon Records, and they've been playing our stuff overseas in Australia and Britain, and every day we're finding out about some other place that they're playing it, so it's really cool. And, you know, getting good reception and momentum.
Getting a lot of good feedback on that?
Yeah, man. And so, you know, like we've always been a kind of band that at the gigs around here, a lot of times we have to do gigs where we'll play like half covers and half our own stuff, just because a lot of times that's what they require. And we've been fortunate lately to have more gigs that are just, you know, playing our own stuff, which is what we'd like to do all the time, obviously. So, you know, that's always nice.
So did you guys got an album that you're working on?
Not necessarily. Like, I write a lot, and so we've had more than enough material for a couple albums at this point, but we are kind of trying to hold out to see if we can get some support for the next one, because we paid for this first one all out of our own pockets and out of a couple friends that were generous enough to donate a little bit. And, you know, most of us haven't gotten paid back. We look at it as an investment. But, you know, so we actually were in the situation with the last CD where we had to kind of stop before we were ready to put it out just because of money. And so, you know, we'd like to make sure the next one we're not being held back creatively, so we can just really put our entire focus and make it sound as great as we can and not have to worry about spending too much money. So we're kind of trying to hold out to see if we can get someone else to support before we actually go in to do another CD. But we've got more than enough material. At this point, the hardest part is just choosing what songs should be on the CD, but it's never a matter of needing songs.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
So yeah, and like a lot of times, like for instance, in our live shows now, we'll like half the set will be songs that we don't actually have recordings of. So, you know, and it's a good way to get them down tighter, so when we actually do record them, we've been working on them for a long time.
Well, that's good. You know, and you're doing that all. You know, you got to actually go into the studio and do all that stuff when you're putting all that together.
Yeah, well, I actually work the way I usually work, since I end up writing by myself a lot, which I don't insist on doing. It just works out that way. And I'll like demo the whole song out so the guys can all hear what I'm thinking of, and then they add their own embellishments and we make it our own, and we start playing it live so everyone can get a good feel for it. So by the time we've recorded it, they're songs that we've played a million times, you know, even though it might be new to everyone else at the time that we record it. And it also makes things a lot easier in the studio because there's no second guessing. Well, not as much second guessing.
Yeah. That's almost a given too. You got to have your ducks in a row when you walk in there, so that way you can lay the tracks down and you can get in and get out.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's pretty much the whole point. And it keeps the live set entertaining because people know if they come to see us, they're going to hear more than just what's on our CD. They're going to hear stuff that, you know, if they've never been to a show before, that they've never heard before. You
know, and a lot of the places you're doing shows is where are you doing a lot of them?
Right now, we're still based around Merritt Island, Cocoa Beach, Titusville, and Melbourne, like the Central Florida area. But, you know, we're going on tour at the end of August, and we're going all throughout the Midwest and Mideast and all throughout the nation, really. And, you know, just we don't have all the details set, so it's still a little hard to give, like, confirmed things. We're filling in the gaps as we speak. But, you know, it's our first one, so, you know, we don't expect it to be entirely glamorous. You know, we know what it's going to be like. We're going to sleep in the car sometimes and things like that, but, you know, it's all part of it, and I'm actually looking forward to it a lot. All the guys are. So, you know, we got to get our feet wet at some point, and we figure it's like a snowball thing where you do the one and then it's easier to do another one, and it gets easier to do the next one, and so at least that's what we're hoping for.
Yep, sounds like you're going to be buying one of those full-size vans.
Well, we've got Bill, our manager's got an SUV, and it's really nice, and it's roomy, you know, gets good gas mileage and things, and we're just going to pull a small trailer, and, you know, we'll make it all work.
Yeah,
we can figure out so many details. At some point, we just got to go for it. You know?
Yeah, a lot of them are doing that, believe it or not. You're not the only one. I know some bands out there, they even send pictures into Twitter of them setting up their campsites.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way they're doing it these days. I mean, and that is the way to do it, actually. I mean, why not? Enjoy it.
And, whenever we get a chance, we'll go to the sleaziest motel we can find, the cheapest one, and share the room or whatever, so we can not smell like ass and things like that. But for the most part, like we're gonna take the good with the bad, and it's, to me, I couldn't think of anything better because I love road trips, and I love playing music, and I love playing my music to different people every night, and that's all those things rolled into one. So, and I'm like, we're going to be going to parts of the country that I've never been before, that most of the guys in the band, some places have never been before. So it's all very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of fun too. You get to meet a lot of people and do a lot of things and learn a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, learn a lot.
Right now, our biggest concern is filling in the gaps, because there's some positions where we're going to be like, in Georgia one night and have to go to like Pennsylvania the next night or something like that. And so like we're looking at really long drives. So we're trying to fill in the gaps as much as we can and make sure we don't have too many days off, because if you're not playing, you're spending money. So, but we're going to take the good with the bad, and all in all, we're all very excited about it. Right now, we're just worried about getting everything up to speed with the constant changing of members and everything. So trying to get everyone on the same page musically, but we're fortunate that everyone involved is very skilled and adept at learning things quickly. So.
Yeah, you got to have that too. Now, when you started this whole thing, when you actually started, deciding you were going to go out and do this, when did all that take place? I mean, as far as all your music, I'm talking about picking up your guitar and, any of that. When did all that start?
Well, to sum it all up, for a long time, I started playing guitar when I was 13. I'm 23, and I started around town with a couple different people, like, local jam nights and things like that. And by the time I was 16, I was playing in a cover band that played around here. And, we got pretty well known in this area for, because we were a bunch of like 16, 17-year-old dudes playing classic rock. So it was, like, that was a, crowd pleaser, because we're playing songs people like and we're young. So like we get insane amount of tips and things like that. And so, we did really well. But at some point, that can only go so far, obviously. And I started writing more, and the stuff that I was writing was starting to take a little bit of a different approach than what the other guys were listening to. So, like a little louder with like, big drums and big guitars and big guitar solos and like, like that kind of stuff. And, the guys are into some of that stuff, or at least the people I used to play with, but not necessarily on the same page with it. So I found some other guys that were into that kind of thing, and gone through multiple members since then, but constantly pushing forward, and now we're up to the point that we're at now, and recorded a CD, and there's things could be better about the CD, but we all think that it's definitely good enough to get someone to help support for the next one, because we're more than ready to make another one. I'd be spending every moment I have working on another CD if we had the funding for it.
Yeah. The funding is the hardest part, is trying to, they really charge a lot to have that stuff put down.
Yeah, well, you get what you pay for, kind of thing. Like, we could go in and do another CD right now, technically, and spend about the same amount of money as we did in our first one. And, the whole situation we're in there is we want to make sure that whenever we do make another one, that it's noticeably much, much better in terms of production. Like, we don't want to just go make another one to make another one. We want it to be a definite step up. So we're just waiting for the right people to work with, and, the right opportunity to come along, and, I guess it's a hurry up and wait kind of thing.
Have you tried to get into any of that internet kind of stuff, any of that programs that are going on in there? Like they've got, tours and this and that you can get in on, and
we're constantly active with our Reverb Nation page, and, always entering things in that, and we're on Pandora and Amazon and iTunes and iHeartRadio and Spotify and all that stuff. There's more, like we're pretty much involved with everyone that you can possibly be involved with at this point, I think. And so, right now our real focus is on the tour and getting merch ready for the tour and gas money and all that. And, because after you do the first one, then you're able to say you've done one, so the next one becomes much easier, and before you know it, it's a snowball thing, or at least that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, that should work out. Now, how about, the other members of the band? Where do you find all these guys at?
like I said, it's gone through a lot. Like I guess we've gone through about like 4 or 5 different guys at this point, and the ones that are currently in the lineup are a couple friends. One of them plays in a band around here. I guess they both played in bands around here, and they both have similar musical interests. Like we're all into about the same kind of stuff, but also different, which is nice because like we all have a mutual ground that we're all like a fan of, but also, one of them might be like, I know our drummer's really into like, some like offbeat kind of like off the wall kind of like techno-y stuff with his other band. He's in another band also, and it's really experimental stuff. It's really cool. It's called Circuit Bender. And the other guy, our bass player, Dylan, is really into like some jazz stuff. And, so that way everyone can bring their own thing to the table. And so whenever we actually do start working together, it, blends everything in nicely.
Yeah, that's kind of cool that you got a different kind of, everybody's kind of in the same page, but they all have a different kind of variety, and you put all that in one pile, and you can come up with some really off-the-wall stuff.
Exactly. But more importantly than anything, and this has been the biggest problem we've had, is that they all have the right attitude, and they're all, dedicated, and all they want is music, and, there's not anything else to hassle with, and so everyone's, mature and on the same page, and that's probably the most important part, really, more so than anything else musically.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I've been through the treadmill when it comes to bands, so I kind of know where you're coming from on all that. I've seen a lot of people come and go from where I was and around me, and it's all.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because most of the reasons that we like with the different members that have gone through, not all of them, but for most of the reasons, it's never been like musically, like they're all very good musically, and we're all still friends. It's just things come up and drama and egos and attitudes, and so it's just the bottom line is whatever's going to make the band progress is what I have to do. So
yeah, that's smart business. So you'll always get a more successful band when everybody doesn't really have all that build up from doing it. You know what I mean? I know a lot of bands around here on the net and stuff, and a lot of them talk to me on a regular basis, and they're just the nicest guys ever. You never hear anything, over the top like some other bands. They won't even reply to you. They won't even talk to you because they're too good to.
Exactly.
But buy my stuff. But we don't want to have anything to do with you. But buy my stuff, type thing. And then they there's a little bit of attitude behind all that. And that can really destroy a band.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess for the masses, most people, because we kind of have to go with both sides of it. Because on one side, personally, I'm not the kind of guy who goes to a show and critiques the band based on like what they're doing as far as like moving around or talking to the crowd enough, or all the things that like big record guys look at is the kind of like last thing that I would think about. But I think that's just a musician thing. Like, in my opinion, like if they sound good and they're really, you can see that they're putting like all of their heart into it, that's really all that should matter. And, but nowadays things have changed a little bit, and whether we like it or not, there is a big focus on, you've got to look the part, you've got to have a stage presence, you got to put on a show, you got to feel like you want to make the crowd feel like they're involved, And so I'm always from the background where if you're doing the music right and it hits the people right, that like they should feel involved regardless of whether or not you're really like, making an effort to do the whole showboaty side of it. Like, and I think the music can speak for itself in that sense. But, I also understand how we have to do both sides of it. So we are definitely always working on making sure that we have a good show and we get people to feel like they really are involved and they really want to come out and, they can see that we love what we do. And so, we try to play both sides of it. We try to cater to the musicians who are just focusing on the music, and then also the side of it where the people want to be entertained and they want to see a show. So
right. For me, that I never really, for me myself, speaking for myself, I never really cared about the stage show. I just basically cared on what came out of the PA.
And I think that's a musician thing. And but we also we have to understand that we're not only playing for musicians. Or like a lot of times you're playing for people that just enjoy music and they just want to come out to a show and have a good time, and they want you to pump them up and they want you to make them feel like extremely involved. And So, you know.
Sorry about that. This is the mascot, and he likes to come across the soundboard and walk right in front of the cam and everything. Yeah, he does that.
It's all good.
He does.
My dog's around here somewhere.
You got one around there too, huh?
Oh, we got a cat and a dog.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He just, he likes to walk right across to everything. He walks right over to soundboard and right up in here, and he lays down in front of the cam here usually a lot. Yeah. The RocksMetalHour mascot, I call him. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of cool that you're getting into all that and learning all that. That does make a lot of sense. There's got to be some kind of a show, and there's got to be some kind of, at the same time you're playing. I mean, there's got, but I don't know. You're still focusing on the music is the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. But especially when you're playing with other bands that are like, it's more like a play than an actual rock show sometimes, like down to like every word they say between songs and, like make sure they say the town's name at least 3 or 4 times and just, I take it all with a grain of salt because like, yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but I understand that it's something that has to be done. So, we're always working on it. And in our situation, it's much easier when we're playing at places that we haven't played multiple times. Because like right now, everywhere we play in this area, we've usually played quite a bit. So, it's easier to go up and like, be a different person when you're playing in front of people that you've never seen before.
Right. Mm. And that it is too. I've always liked a good show. I always had a hard time dealing with you're going in and you're waiting for the show to start and there's only like 4 people there.
Yeah, but we also take a lot of pride in the fact that regardless of like if there's 4 people, there's 40 or there's 400, 4,000, like we do the exact same thing. So, we've just never been in the situation to where like regardless of the amount of people, we still, we come to play every time. So, we're pretty proud about that. And that's something that will never change. So it's definitely a big release for all of us. So, not to sound like bias, but a lot of times we might be enjoying it more than the audience is.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing. Because, they're there to watch you do that.
Yeah, but our goal, I guess, is to get them on the same level that we're at with it. So, that's always what we're aiming for.
Yeah, and that is a difficult thing to do these days, by the way, too, because there's so many bands surfacing right now. It's just it's unbelievable. It's just
people definitely need to be won over, and we realize that. So that's kind of what our goal is whenever we set up anywhere, to just get right to it. And I cater to both sides. Like I make sure that I try to like do a bit of the show side and like let them know what's going on and make them feel involved. But also I really feel like if they're either going to like it or they're not going to like it. And it doesn't matter how much things I say between songs and how many times I say the town name. Like, if they don't like the music, they don't like the music. And if they do, then they do. So,
right.
I feel like it could speak for itself for the most part.
Yeah, you can't please everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
but you'll
do our best to try.
Yeah, you can try, but sometimes you got to play it for them a few times before they get into the loop,
Exactly.
Yeah, so. But they all come eventually. Now, a lot of this stuff that you have out there, now these are just single releases, right, that you've done, and you just kind of threw the singles out?
No, we've got a whole album. It's, I know we've only sent you a few of the ones, but it's a 13-song album. It's called Common Eyes, and it's on iTunes and Amazon and our website, and we've got them at shows all the time. And, it's a full-length album, and we actually put a lot of work into the way the songs transition, and it's set up to where you can kind of just put it on and let it go, and all the songs flow into each other nicely. And I've always been a fan of albums that do that, so we really aimed for that. And it covers a pretty broad range. I know we sent you the more hard rock songs, but there's also a lot of mellower stuff on there also, and just we try to stay pretty diverse. I consider us an alternative rock band because I think you can call anything alternative, and that kind of just sums it up. So that's what we go with. I mean, I know most people aren't fans of genres, and I'm not either. So, but we're definitely more than just a straight like rock band. We do some mellow stuff also, and that's always going to be a part of it.
You kind of got a little bit of blues in you too, don't you? I think you do.
Well, I think everything is boiled down to the blues if you really think about it. Like I don't think it matters what style it is. Like at the root of it, at the very heart of it, like way deep, it starts with blues. So, I mean, at least as a guitar player, and I think that probably just comes through with the people I'm influenced by. like, you know, my big guitarists that I have always looked up to and aspired to play like are like, you know, David Gilmour and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix, like, you know, the classic stuff that most guitar players are super into. And, you know, Joe Perry from Aerosmith and all that, Eric Johnson, you know, I could go on, but it's the same people that most people say. And, you know, and I also have a big love for, like, the guys that totally shred, like, you know, like Steve Vai and, you know, Joe Satriani, John Petrucci, all those people. And I aspire to play like them also, but, you know, if I ever had to choose just a couple, I always go back to Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, David Gilmour, that whole thing. That's just where my roots are.
Yeah, that's mine's the same way. You know, I put up with it all, you know, and I deal with it all and deal with, you know, the guys that are really into the metal, but you know, still there's a lot of for me there, you know, because these guys are out there doing it, so they, you know, you got to have them, you know, you got to give them a little bit of appreciation for what they do.
Yeah,
know?
and it's freaking hard, you know, like a lot of the stuff the guys do, you can tell like they put a lot of work into, and it's very difficult. And I'm always working to progress in that field, but you know, whenever I go, like my default is blues playing. That's what I started doing in the cover band and everything. So, you know, you can't hide that, and I wouldn't want to.
No, you want to use, you know, everything you've been through. You want to use to throw all that into your own music.
Exactly.
You know, along with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's where the good stuff comes from. You know, you can, you know, I'm the same way. I can go over and shred, but that's not really where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can all do it, but that's not where our heart is.
I can touch upon it. Like my whole thing is like there's some guys that can just sit there and keep going, like, you know, just improvising this crazy shit, like just right off the top of their head. And for me, like the only time I really touch upon shredding kind of stuff is when I like actually like write something out, you know, like then I'll touch upon some things where it's just I'm trying to like, you know, convey what I'm hearing in my head. But as far as just like whipping it out and being able to just continuously shred like that, it's never been something that I've been very good at. So like whenever I'm improvising, it just goes straight to blues stuff.
Yeah, there you go. So, you know, well, yeah, it's going to bring you back to where your heart is.
Yeah, but whenever I get a chance to actually write out solos for songs and things like that, that's when I'll touch upon some more technique-oriented things and, you know, and play it pretty much the same way every night. But I'm a fan of that. Like, I like guitar solos that you can sing along to, you know, like, so.
Well, yeah. You know, and what's your favorite guitar designer?
I'm a big fan of Paul Reed Smith. I've had a Paul Reed Smith for about like, I guess almost 6 or 7 years now, a Custom 22, and it's beaten to hell and back. Like when I got it, the first day I got it, the guitar, I worked at my local guitar store for like 3 months, and my dad paid for half of it, and I paid for the other half by working there. That was my paycheck. And like the first day that I got it, my boss at the time had told me to never play it on the beach. And I played it on the beach like the next night. So, you know, just because of the salt in the air and like everything else, it's just not good guitar conditions at all. And it's something that I constantly battle with, and I think all the musicians around beach areas constantly battle with. And, you know, but I still like it needs refretting pretty soon. And, you know, I've had to get work done to it a lot, but still my main guitar. And, you know, I'm more of a Les Paul guy than I am a Strat guy. So, you know, and I feel like the Paul Reed Smith is a good combination of, it's like if a Les Paul and a Strat had a baby.
Really?
So, you know, yeah, because it's got the thickness of the Les Paul, but also the diversity of the Strat. So, you know, and I'm just not a single coil guy, really. So I got to have humbuckers. And, you know, I'm deeply in love with Les Paul's, like, the thickness of it. But I've been a big Paul Reed Smith fan for a long time, so that's what I go with.
Awesome. That was a good comeback on that one. Yeah, you know, I mean, that is a really touchy subject in there for me too, because you know, they've got to fit. You know, they have to fit.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll spend hours in music stores, and there'll be 200 guitars hung on that wall, and I might not find one.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
You know, and then once I find it, you know, then you try to move from that to something else. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels comfortable, and I you know, there'll be times where feel like, oh, this guitar is beaten up and old, and I wish I had a new one, blah blah blah, and then I'll actually go out to a store and try a new one and just hate it, like just absolutely hate it, you know. And so then it makes me reassure, like the beat up one, it's worn in, you know. It's like,
that one's broke in.
It's like an old pair of jeans or something.
Yeah, it is. You know, I've done that. I bought 7 of them this year. None of them are here.
Yeah.
But my main rides are sitting back here, and they've been there for 10 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know. You know.
And I always want more guitars, but I've got more than enough at this point, and I only play the one. Like it's expensive to keep a lot of guitars in working condition, you know, like as far as set up well and like fresh strings and whatnot. And so I pretty much just have like 3 or 4 that I ever play, but I've got about like 15, something like that. But a lot of them are like lower end, because once you have like a $3,000 guitar, which is what my Custom 22 was, it's kind of like, you know, I don't see a lot of point in getting many other super expensive guitars, because anything above, you know, $400 or $500 is usually pretty decent.
Yeah.
So, you know, I got a lot of those market guitars, but lately I've been really jonesing for a really nice Les Paul, and I think I'll probably get one soon. It's just my truck's broken, so I have to have a priority thing. I don't need a new guitar. I just want one.
Yeah, you could always want one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. When I go in, that's the first thing I look at is all the guitars, you know. I'm always looking for something. If I can't buy the guitar, well, maybe a little bit of effects pedal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There's always something.
Yeah, maybe another amp head.
Yeah, but right now, more than anything, I need an engine for my truck. So I can't think that way.
Yeah, but they're only a couple $100. You'll pay less for that than you will the next guitar.
Oh, that's true. Very true. But,
yeah, a positive point. All right, now, hey, you know, you got a tune out there named Sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, where did that come from?
That's just, I mean, a lot of the songs that are on our CD, like I said, I'm 23 now, and a lot of those songs were written before we recorded, and the CD was recorded about, I think, around 2, almost 3 years ago now. And so, you know, like a lot of the songs that were on there, I had written before I was like 19 or something like that. So a lot of them are dealing with different things, or like, you know, before and after. But that one specifically is pretty much just like a straightforward breakup song, really. I mean, just like your first like big heartbreak. Everyone has one, you know, and just and it's kind of a maintained theme between a few of the songs in the CD. But you know, it's just I write like many other people write, where you're using it to get through something, and so you know that's pretty much where that one comes from. Just being mean to somebody. It's like, you know, it's like when you make a song and you're really angry and all you want to do is like swear at somebody and just say like all these terrible things, but then you think to yourself like you want to kind of be a little more, have some more depth than that, and like almost try to insult them to where it goes over their head by how, like, you know, I don't know. It's just it's just an angry song. That's all it is, really.
That's it. That's one of your angrier songs.
Yeah, I mean. Maybe at least lyrically.
Well, maybe we should give him a hit of that. What do you think? You think we should throw that on for him?
Go for it, man.
All right, cool. We're good. We're good. We're back. Checking it out here. All right, SHAIN HONKONEN we're with Vilifi. And you just listened to the song Sympathy is where you're at. And that was pretty cool, killer stuff, man. That is awesomely killer stuff.
Thank you.
I think you'll have I think you will have very good luck with that particular tune. And actually all your tunes are very good, so
Thank you. I like to think so.
Yeah, heck yeah. So, what do you plan on, as far as the future? Where do you think this would actually you'd like it to go? I mean, are you kind of comfortable where you're at now, the way you see things, or?
We're definitely not comfortable where we're at by any means. I mean, like, obviously I love it here because I've lived here my whole life in Merritt Island, and we've got support around here and we're thankful for it all, but we've done more than enough of our time around here, and we've been ready for a long time to progress. And so, I've got realistic expectations about the band and everything. I know, like, how many bands are out today and how many big bands there are and just how you're just a dime a dozen kind of thing. But, I guess all I want is for the band to continually always be progressing, to never just stop at a certain point, always be pushing forward, making more CDs, doing more shows, getting more fans, all that. But as long as we're constantly moving forward, then I couldn't really be happier. That's all I could ask for.
Yeah, and with a lot of these bands, though, I realize there's a lot of them, and it's all a dime a dozen, but none of them are comparable. None of them.
Well, and there's a lot of different things going around, and and I like to feel that, like, one thing that we've got going for us, and, like, there are obviously many other bands that do also, but I feel like we've got a good amount of honesty to our music, to where, we're not just trying to write a song that is trying to, like, make you go out and buy it just because it's, like, written with catchy hooks and, like, cliche lyrics and things like that, and, like, all 4/4 mainstream, that kind of thing. Like, and not to put any of that down, because the people that do that do it really well. It's just we kind of try to go for a little more, like, we write it because we like it, and if you like it, that's awesome. We hope you do, but we're not necessarily trying to make music just to sell it to you, like a product or something.
Right, exactly. And a lot there is quite a few bands out there that are doing that these days.
There is, and they're the ones that are, like, the big people on the radio and things, and, like, obviously if we were ever at a point like that, it would be wonderful and it'd be awesome, but we're trying very hardly to not compromise our sound too much. Like, I'm not going to say not compromise at all, because I think that's foolish. Like, at some point you've got to compromise a little bit. So, like, we've got certain songs that are catered more towards that, and certain songs that are catered more towards, just doing what we want to do. So we're trying to play both sides of it a little bit.
Yeah, but see, you're writing your own stuff. Half of these guys that are coming up now, that's not even their own material.
That's true. I know a lot of people have, like, groups of writers that work for them and things like that. And, I prefer the way that we write and the way that I write. But if it came down to a point where I was forced to work with someone else, and that's the only way they were going to help us make a CD kind of thing, then you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like, I know people talk about selling out and other things like that, but it's a certain point, it's like, if you're looking at being successful and not being successful, you want to be successful, So
yeah.
There's many artists that will, like, do what everyone else wants them to do just to get well known, and then once they've got some backing behind them and they got some notoriety, they do whatever they want. You know? So
it gets their name up there in order to put out. Yeah.
So
exactly.
not that we're planning on doing that, but if that option comes along, we would take it.
Yeah, and it may, but then again, the way that you're writing, you may not need that.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So, I mean, there's two ways to look at it,
We've already talked we'll get a chance to talk to certain, like, higher up guys, and they kind of wave. It's like dangling a carrot over your head kind of thing, like, oh, we could do this and this and that for you, but you're not well known out of Florida and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, we realize that. We haven't gone out of Florida yet, and we're working on it. But also, like, then they'll get in depth as far as, like, too many guitar solos in your songs and not catchy choruses and things like that. Like, or you can tell they're not actually, it's like the music fans that I would think of, because they, like, and they'll use words like too much guitar things or something like that. And it's like, you're doing too much high stuff on your guitar, or too much of that. And it's just like, they don't even know, they're not even describing it correctly. So, it's just, it's like, I bite my tongue and like, I'll still work with someone that is like that if they have the power to help us, but you can only compromise so much at a certain point.
Right. Too many guitar solos, too much guitar work in your tunes. No
Yeah.
way, you can't have too much guitar work in your tunes,
No, I
man.
think you definitely can. Like, I've heard things where it's like, if someone's just like blatantly just kind of noodling the whole time, then, I can understand. But I think like we take a lot of work into everything that's on the CD is there for a reason, like nothing was just kind of thrown in last minute. Or I guess maybe a couple little things, but for the most part, it's all, like I write solos to add to the song. I'm never the kind of person that writes a solo just to be like, oh, like now I'm gonna play guitar, like watch that, like it's really more for like adding to the song, which is why we have a good amount of songs on the CD also that don't have guitar solos.
Yeah. You'd have a hard time explaining that one to Vinnie Vincent.
Yeah.
You know what he does, he's all over the place all the way through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the guys that do that are great. It's just when you're making music like that, you're pretty much just catering to other guitar players.
Yeah.
For the most part. And so, we want to make music that like it works out because like we've got stuff like our friends will like it, our friends that are into metal will really like it, and our friends that are into like we even got friends that listen to nothing but rap and they still like our stuff. And, like my grandma loves it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not the kind of things they listen to at all. It's just, I think people can pick up on the honesty and, that we're not just trying to like sell you some bullshit or something. It's all very, like everything has a meaning,
Yeah, and that's how I actually found you, is by one of your fans, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, she actually came to me and said, no, you need to do this. And I said, okay, and
thank you for that, whoever that was.
Yeah, and she's a really cool girl, and she helps out. She's also one of the ones that also does a lot of spamming, and she sends your stuff everywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah, so she's out there. She's one of your dedicated fans, and she keeps throwing that stuff and doing whatever she can, along with all of us, and that's kind of why we're doing this here too, is for the RocksMetalHour thing, is everybody's going to get a hold of this and they're just going to fling it everywhere.
It means a lot, man. We really appreciate it. And if you get a chance to tell her thank you, please let her know that we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I talked to her this morning and I told her that you would be on, and when the interview's coming out, and she's gonna be getting a hold of it, and she's gonna be doing her thing, and she's just gonna love it because she just loves you guys to death. So.
Awesome. Well, we love her too.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So you got a song out named Anguish.
Yes.
And what was that one all about? How did you come up with that?
That one, it's a little bit of an in-depth thing, but I had, for a while, around the time that I was like 19 or 20, I had everyone believed that I had a pulled muscle in my back, like a slip disc or something. And so I woke up one morning after a gig and I couldn't like sit up out of my bed, just like instantaneously one morning. And I've heard of things like that happening before to like for instance, my dad's pulled muscles before, and I've seen like, him having to like crawl to the bathroom and things like that. I know it's like back pain is like terrible. And so, but it usually doesn't happen to people my age as often. And so, I knew something was up, but everyone had just said it was a pulled muscle. So I kind of just dealt with it for a while and tried to stay off of it. But I was also still playing at the time because it's how I pay my bills, and it's the only job I've ever really had besides a guitar shop. And so, like I was at the point where I couldn't really set up my own equipment. People were setting it up for me, and like, it's hard to stand, but I got like a back brace and painkillers and still like powering through playing, but it was kind of like torturous. But, I still love playing. So if anything, it was like, it's hard to stand, but at the same time, playing music was the only thing really helping me through that also. So, went to a few hospitals, and every time we'd go, they would say it's just a pulled muscle, stay off of it, and at first that's what we believed. And then it went on for about 3 months. And that's when we were starting to suspect, like, it's got to be something worse because this has gone on for way too long. And at one point it was just unbearable, and went to another hospital. My dad picked me up, and we went to the Cape Canaveral Hospital, and they pretty much said the same thing, like, it's probably a pulled muscle, it's going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. and my dad insisted that they take an X-ray or something because he was, it's obviously something worse. And so they take one, and as soon as they do, they're like, you got to get an MRI, you got to get a CAT scan, you got to get like everything. You're not leaving here. Something's up, And so they found out that I had some fluid around my discs in my spine or something, and they had to take a sample of it so they could find out what it was so they could kill it. And so that day I had to get a spinal tap. And so, obviously that's not something I would want to go through. It's like a 7 or 8 inch needle to go in through each layer of muscle until you get to it and take a sample. And, they gave me like morphine or whatever else, but that stuff's never really done much. Like they were saying that I wouldn't feel it because of that, but obviously it's not going to help too much. And
you do.
But yeah, and so stayed in the hospital for like a week, didn't eat for like a week because I wanted to. I was hungry. I just didn't really have an appetite, and didn't walk for like a week. And that whole experience, like I've never gone through anything like that. Like I've never hurt myself to where it didn't get better in like a couple days, or I've never even broken a bone or anything before. So like I'd never been able to not been able to walk for that long, and so at one point I don't have health insurance. So I was supposed to stay there until I was fully recovered, but after a week they were pretty much giving me the boot. So I had to get a PICC line installed into my arm and, a tube up to my heart, and I had to come back every morning for 6 weeks after that. My mom would take me, and I was in a wheelchair at first, which also never been through anything like that. And, I had to go back like every morning for 6 weeks so they could pump in the antibiotics to gradually destroy what was going on. And I've got kind of a gnarly bump in my spine now because of the whole situation, because like before I knew what was up, I was going to chiropractors because some people recommended to do that, and I pretty much just paid them to fuck my back up more than it was.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of sucked, but live and learn. And so that song was all kind of, it's a song I'd been working on before all that happened, as far as like the guitars and everything, like, because I was usually write to where I have the melody or the riff first and fill in everything else afterwards. And so after the whole experience, I kind of like brought it to that song. And also aside from the song, like ever since then I was never really very physically active before then. And, like I did like anything anyone else would do, but it wasn't a priority to me. And so ever since then, like not being able to, all I could think about while I was in there is like just wanting to ride my bike and run and just, live. And so it's part of my daily routine now. I wake up and swim, and I go for a 4-mile bike ride, and I've been doing yoga, which I know Bill told you earlier, but it really helps a lot because like I have probably a little more back pain than some of my age normally would have because of all that. And doing the yoga makes it to where I hardly even notice it. So, and separate like maybe the end of the night or something. And sometimes I have difficulty sleeping, but it could be so much worse because I talked to them, and first of all, they didn't understand. Like they were wondering how I had even been doing anything for the last 3 months. They're just like, have you just been in bed for 3 months? And I'm like, no, I've been playing. I've been out doing gigs. And they didn't actually believe me at first. But, I didn't have a choice. I was paying my bills and everything. And so, they didn't believe that, but I had to do what I had to do. And ever since then, it's a priority to me to, like, no matter what I'm doing that day, I kind of look at it as like a life tax to where I have to, you only got one body and you have to take care of it. So that became a really big issue after that. So I've taken a lot of positive things away from it. Besides the $75,000 hospital debt, that's the only negative.
Oh, you'll make that up. You'll make that up. Just wait till you get me and Bill's age, and then you'll know how it feels.
Yeah. That's pretty much where that came from, that whole song.
Well, there you go. Let's give him a shot of that. What do you think, Anguish? Let's let him have a listen on that. All right.
acceptance of my decline, to change my ways, expecting better days to come and take me away. I'm waiting to feel alive, to feel I'm gonna be fine. So just you wait, just you wait and see. I'll be living in time, through anguish I'll escape. Waiting impatiently to move on from this, trusting in patience, left empty promises, immobile innocence, I'm paralyzed, in total non-distress, I'm waiting for my time to feel I'm gonna be fine. So just you wait, just you wait and see. I'll be living in time, through anguish I'll escape. Anything to make it go away. Lying still for 6 weeks is insane. How can I ever live this way? I just can't live with all this pain. No one should ever live this way. I'll do anything to make it go away. I'm gonna be fine. So just you wait, just you wait and see. I'll be living in time, through anguish I'll escape. I'll escape.
All right, we're back with SHAIN, HONKONEN of Vilifi, and we're going through some stuff on some of these tunes and all this, everything that he's got going on, and as far as the Vilifi, where you can find it, what you can do, and some of these sites again, where can they find some of these tunes?
It's on our actual website. It's vilifi.net, VILIFI.net. And, it's also, of course, up on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Vilifi321. It's on Amazon. It's on iTunes. It's on, if they just want to listen to it, it's also on Pandora and Spotify and iHeart Music and iHeart Radio and all that. So there's plenty of things. I like if you type our name correctly, which is actually incorrectly, the actual word vilify is spelled with a Y at the end, and so it can be misleading sometimes. But we misspelled it to give it our own individual thing, and it looks cooler. So that's also very important.
Yeah,
but,
and it does.
Like if you Google vilify spelled correctly, which is actually incorrectly, VILIFI, if you just Google that, we're pretty much all that comes up, and there's plenty of things.
Okay, great. That should give these guys a place to go. And check this stuff out. Now, have you ever done a Skype interview before?
No, this is my first one.
I hear that a lot from people. It's like the first one, but everything has gotten so advanced now that it's kind of nice
awesome.
to do this. It's nice.
It's very cool.
Yeah, so I don't have to, I don't have to come all the way down to Florida.
Exactly.
And sit in a back room somewhere, and try to put all this together when you can actually do it right here. I think this is kind of the new age kind of thing.
Oh, it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's a step above a phone call.
Yeah, it's just a phone call, but that's that's the way it is these days. So you can go all over the world nowadays on a phone call.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes, it is. The technology is fantastic. So what are your plans actually for the future? I mean, are you working on anything right now? Are you?
Well, like I said, we're planning the tour at the end of August, and it's tentatively going to be till around October, and then maybe take a couple weeks off after that, as far as like getting everything else in order. Like I know our drummer is going to be going off to do percussive classes I think in Berkeley. I'm not sure where. But he's doing like a 2-week intensive course, and then he'll be back and plan the next tour and just kind of rinse and repeat. I know it's the same thing that most bands do, but we're just now getting to that point where we're ready to be doing that. And so, we're ready to pretty much just be constantly on the road and spreading everything and hope for the best. I mean, we look at it like we really don't have a choice. We can't just sit around doing the same local gigs. Nothing's going to happen. So... And then after we do the tours, when we come back to our local gigs, it'll have much more of an impact.
You're right. You're correct about that. Now, where did you learn how to do all this? I mean, how did you learn how to write the music and do the music?
Well, I mean, I was for the most part self-taught as far as guitar goes. I kind of played on my own for the first 2 or 3 years, and then had a few lessons from a couple different people around the area, and picked up quite a bit from them, like really kind of opening my eyes to a few things, but also I could have taken a lot more from them. Because what put me off from guitar in the first place, because I tried playing for a couple of years before I was 13. I had attempted, and what put me off was like it can be very daunting, like when you go to a guitar lesson and they throw all this music theory at you, and it almost looks like homework sometimes, unless you're obviously super into it, which I was, but I guess I was kind of just more interested in playing, and my theory is not what it could be, and it's something I want to work at, and I don't work at as much as I could, but for the most part I pretty much taught myself, and then jamming with all the musicians in the area, you pick up a lot of things, like listening to people play and being thrown on a stage with like really awesome guitar players, and you just got to carry your own weight, and so it's kind of how I've cut my teeth around here, and just constantly working on it. So one of the things I've done is I play with a group called Classic Albums Live, and they're based out of Canada, but they play all around the United States, and whenever they play in Florida, I usually play with them whenever there's an opportunity to, and sometimes they'll fly me out to somewhere else, which is really cool. And I know I'm going to be playing with them in Texas in August, doing Eagles, the Hotel California. And so, having to learn all that stuff, and they have an emphasis on learning it like note for note, and so kind of forces you to really practice a lot and really get your tone down and get your sound down, and especially the same situation like getting thrown on a stage with a bunch of like guys that have been playing for 20 or 30 years, and they've got their tone together and they sound amazing and, you know, professional. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first started, I was not on par really much at all. And so, you know, it's kind of something you gradually work at, and I'm getting much more confident with it lately, but it's still always a work in progress. But that's where I've learned a lot about capturing a good guitar sound and song structure from learning all the songs that I've been big fans of and things. And so I guess that's really where it all comes from.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there that, you know, I've heard a lot of the bands that actually make it nowadays, half of them, they don't write music. They don't do anything like that. It's all just a bunch of guys getting together saying, hey, this is cool, what do you think? And then they put it together.
And I wouldn't be surprised. And a lot of times people don't understand that it's not, as far as songwriting goes, like, for instance, I consider myself a much better songwriter than a guitar player. Like, that's just the way I look at it. And I use the guitar, like, as a tool to convey what I'm trying to do. But also I love playing guitar. Like, I'm all about guitar. I always have been. But I realize how many great guitar players there are. You know, it's just, it's daunting because, like, there's always someone better than you, and there's someone better than that guy, and there's someone better than that guy.
Exactly.
You know, so I realize that I can't just win people over playing guitar alone because there's always someone better, and I'm fine with that. I understand that, and I'm confident with where I am as a guitar player, but I also realize that I constantly need to be working, and I'm always trying to improve myself. But the songwriting is really what I feel is my forte, and I think what people don't understand is, like, it can be off-putting because someone starts and you try to write a song and it's terrible. It's just so bad, you know, and that's you kind of have to do that. You have to go through, like, your first, I'd say almost like 40, 50 songs are not going to be very good, you know, and that's kind of where I was at. Like, I've been writing for about as long as I've been playing guitar, so about like 9 or 10 years, and just you learn from mistakes. You pay more attention when you're listening to other people's songs about, like, the arrangements and what they chose to do, what they didn't choose to do, and, you know, hooks and getting people involved, and just definitely have some very terrible songs under my belt that nobody will ever hear.
You know, we all do.
Yeah, so I make sure that nobody hears them.
You know, I played Living After Midnight the other day. You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'm very proud of, like, the stuff Vilifi does, and, you know, I'm not going to record something with this band unless I feel that it's up to par, which everything has been. But at the same time, having said before that all the songs that are on our CD are mostly were written about like 4 or 5 years ago, you're constantly growing as a songwriter, as a person, so your music's also going to always be developing, obviously. So I'm much more confident with the stuff I've written since then. And it's actually pretty frustrating because all the songs that I love and that I, like, feel the most proud of, most people haven't heard yet. So, you know, I'm impatient, and I want to be working on it now, and I want to be playing it now, but it's all a work in progress.
Right, it is. So you have another tune called Travail.
Yes.
There you go. Where did that come out of?
That one is kind of deals with another. It kind of tails in with Sympathy and other things like that, but in a different way, because that was more of an emotional relationship thing. And this is also relationship-based, but in a different way, because it's mainly at the point where I was in the band that I was in before Vilifi, and having to part ways with friends that, you know, you don't necessarily want to part ways with, but it's kind of preventing you from doing what you feel like you really should do. And so, you know, that song's pretty much about dealing with that, and no matter how much you love somebody or how much they'll always be your friend, you have to do what's best for you, you know.
Yeah,
so
you've got to follow your dreams, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to follow your dreams, and sometimes you got to, you know, you'll give a lot up for that sometimes, you know. All right, let's give them a shot of that. What do you think?
Yeah, awesome.
All right, Travail from Vilifi.
I
All right, we're back with Shane Honkonen of Vilify. So with all the stuff that you've got going on, if there's anything that you could actually say to your fans or something that you'd want them to know, what would that be?
I guess I just want them to know that, like I had said before, that we don't sell anything that's not entirely like very emotionally involved, and just we're trying to give them music to where if somebody's hurt, if somebody is feeling upset or just down and needs something to help them get through whatever situation they might be going through, that's pretty much what we're here for. And just to not feel alone and to not feel that that those aren't odd feelings. It's just something everyone goes through. But also, not to say you have to be upset to listen to us, because we've also got songs, obviously, that are focused on being upbeat and energetic and positive. But, actually, like, the word vilify means to slander something and, like to speak ill about something. And so I guess if I really thought about it, you can kind of take almost any of our songs into slandering something, like, in some way, whether it's a relationship or government or someone trying to keep you from doing what you want to do. But I guess most of the message that we have in a lot of our songs is really, I guess, a underlying reoccurring theme about being yourself and not letting anything change that.
Awesome. And you do have to do that, and that's the thing. You can get caught up into that to where people try to change you around to that, manipulate you around. You know what I mean? And,
exactly.
Yeah, and you can, and if you've got somebody there that really knows what they're doing, you don't want to manipulate that person. You want to set the manipulation down and learn from that person.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a huge mistake that a lot of people make.
Yeah, and I look at songs much like someone, like a painter might look at a painting, to where, like, you don't just, I mean, maybe in some cases people will just come up with a painting and it's great and like they did it in a few hours, or sketches or something like that. But I look at it as like something where I dwell on it. Like, there's not very many songs that we have that I haven't been working on for like years and months prior to when it was actually recorded. So everything's always been like, scanned over like with a fine-tooth comb, and just every word that I'm saying was like had a lot of thought behind it. And so I just want people to understand that it's not the kind of thing that we just like throw together, or that we're just trying to do something in hopes that they'll like it. Like, I want them to like it, but it wasn't written with that in mind.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the way it needs to be too. The thing is that it's your own personal inspiration is what it is. It's your own personal thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's coming out for something that you wanted to do. All right, cool. So that is awesome stuff. We went through all the, for the songs that we've got. We went through all how you feel about it. We went through the tours. We went through a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch base on? And then we're going to drop them off with this last song here that we've got for you. Is probably what we'll shut it down with.
I guess just to have people stay connected, and if they go to our Facebook page and like it, then they'll constantly be updated with what's going on. They can go on our website or also the Facebook page and look at the schedule. And, we're going all throughout the U.S., so if we get to anyone's town close to them, we strongly encourage them to come out and bring some friends and, have a good time. And we hope everybody enjoys it. If they like what's on the CD, then they'll love what we play live, because we play a good amount of stuff that's not on the CD. So, it's always interesting for other people to hear when they haven't heard it. And I guess also for the song Fine, to go on that song's pretty much blatantly against war in every form. Just fighting for no reason. And, like, I know a lot of people have different feelings about, like, whatever America may be doing at different times. But I know from myself and a lot of people I've spoken with, like, it just seems like there's no reason for us to be fighting. Like, it's kind of like trying to police the world. And, you know, I guess that song's just speaking about like live and let live, you know, like, but it's just a little, it's kind of disheartening that everyone's got to lie about it. Like, they make it out to be like we're fighting these people so they won't kill us, or we're fighting these people because it's the right thing to do, and like, you know, everything like that. And they'll kind of feed you bullshit over the media and things. Like, they tell everyone that everything is fine. And when actuality, a lot of times we're killing innocent people.
Yeah,
so,
and you're absolutely right about that.
So that's kind of what that's about.
Yeah, this whole, I don't agree with this whole thing that we've been going through for the last 15 years, or however long it's been. It's been too long.
I think the majority of people don't. And so that's kind of what that song's about.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's that leaves me speechless thinking about that, because, you know, and you're right. You're absolutely right about that. You know, the media involved with the government, you know, they're only telling us what they're told to tell us. They're not telling us. Yeah. And
so, you know, like, it's like, it's just slaughtering people, and instead of like voicing it like it is, they put a positive spin on it, and, you know, just make it out to where it's like something we have to do. Yeah. And it's definitely not.
Right. All about the oil, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I'm not political at all.
Neither am I.
I'm not the kind of person that can sit here and, because I know people that are, and I know not to talk about anything political around them, because they know the facts, or they know what they think the facts are, at least. And they'll just, you know, talk your ear off about things. And I don't really get politically involved. All I know is that there's a war going on and people are dying that don't need to be dying. And that's all I really need to know.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's very true. You know, what's behind it all. There's really no reason to be over there doing that. You know, there's got to be other solutions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at it like we're armed to the teeth and just so above everybody else. And, you know, they're over there in rags and we're shooting them. So
yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
No, not at all.
You know, it really doesn't, you know, and then one minute we're training them, the next minute we're shooting them.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
And then after that we're supplying them.
Yeah, then we're supplying them so they can shoot at us so we can shoot them more.
Exactly. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah, and it's very sad.
Yes,
but
it is.
That song's really mainly just talking about, regardless of the fact that it's happening, that they still choose to put a positive spin on it and make it look like everything's good and fine.
Right, when in fact it's not.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. There you got it straight from SHAIN HONKONEN from Vilifi. And, you know, the Rocks Metal Hour and everybody that watches this really appreciates you taking the time to sit down and...
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
And have a word with us and shoot a little bit, shoot the shit a little bit, and really kind of know where you're coming from and what you're doing. So, you know, everybody can hear all these cool songs that they've heard, and especially Fine. Fine will be the last song. That's the name of the last song coming up. Will be the name Fine. We're going to throw that up here, and that's how we're going to go ahead and shut this down. So there you go, SHAIN. It's been a privilege to talk to you. It's been very
likewise,
good.
Man. Thank you very much.
I really like your opinions. I really like your sense of direction and your sense of following your goals. That's what makes the difference. You know.
That's literally all that matters to me.
Yeah,
So,
but it all comes out in the music, and that's what matters to us out here. Is, you know, because, you know, you're doing it the way that you're doing it, and I hope that you never have to change that. And if you do change that, I know it's only a temporary thing.
Exactly. So.
You know, just a temporary thing. So, yeah, that's been awesome. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and let it go. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just I hope everyone can get a chance to check us out on tour wherever you are.
All right. And they can find that on your official website, right?
Yeah, Vilifi.net. Vilifi.net.
Okay.
And you can just go on the schedule. It pulls up a Google map that has every location we're going to be. So... And if we're not somewhere that you'd like us to be, please let us know, and we'll try to make it happen.
Cool, awesome. I can help you out with that too when you get up around this state.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, I can throw you a list of who will take you.
Oh, that'd be great.
You know, so then maybe you can work it in if it works out. But like I said, I'm just a middle guy.
Yeah.
I you know, you got to do all the work yourself. I'm just a middle guy.
Actually, fortunately, I don't, because we're fortunate enough to have a couple people involved that really are very generous, and Bill and other friends that we've got that are like no entitlement to this at all. They don't have to do this at all. They just have faith in the music and they want to see it succeed, and we couldn't be more gracious for that. So.
Okay, Bill owes you a big screen TV, one of those big 60 inches.
Oh, we already got one, man. Way ahead of you.
See how you are? No, I feel like I'm the last one who ever bought one. I just bought one last week now. Yeah, so now I feel like the last one, because everybody I talk to has one. And they're like, where have you been, man? We've had one forever. And I'm like, well, I'm still into my little one,
Yeah.
So I don't even watch TV, so it's going to end up being hung on the wall in here in the studio, so I can read it while I'm playing or something,
Yeah, I've only got a select few shows that I watch, but I really do like the ones that I watch. So.
Yeah, and that big screen really trips it off,
Yeah, it's nice.
All right, well, hopefully we get to see you on the big screen here in the future.
I hope so, man.
That's what we're after. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and shut this down, and here you go. This is Vilify, SHAIN HONKONEN. Here you go. Here's the tune named Fine.
This is your fight for justice.